All right, this is the Flood and Erosion Control Board meeting of August 20th. We are starting the meeting at 7:05, call it. We're going to go around and say who is in attendance. This is Becky Bunnell, Chair.
Charles Abercrombie, member.
Don Lamberti, Vice Chair.
John Tilley, member. Dick Mahusky, Secretary.
Crew O'Brien, Recording Secretary.
And do we have anyone on the phone?
There does not appear to be anyone on the phone except us.
Okay, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. Our first item of business is to hear, consider, and act upon the minutes of the July 2024 special meeting. Did everyone get a chance to review them, and does anyone have any comments?
Madam Chairwoman, I would like to amend that item to include the June 18th, 2024 minutes, which we have not approved yet.
Okay, let's do them as two separate items. So let's do the special meeting first, and we will amend that item to also include the June regular meeting.
I have one comment. The very end there, the very last paragraph, says Pine Creek Association has not had its first meeting in 10 years.
Oh, we've had several meetings, yeah.
Wait. Are we doing the July? Are we doing July?
We're doing a special meeting.
We're doing July. That's the June.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
We're doing the July special meeting.
Okay.
Which
I have no.
You don't have any comments? Anyone know what has any comments?
No.
Then can I have a motion to approve the July special meeting minutes? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, let us then move on to a review and approval of the June 18th minutes. And now, Don.
Yeah, the very last. It says Pine Creek, they haven't met in 10 years. I'm not sure that 10 years is correct.
Well.
In many years. It's 10 to...
Okay, so change 10 to many?
Many years, something like that, yeah.
I was at a meeting a couple of years ago when we were talking about the dredging.
No, he says, let's meet down at the bar down there in Southport Harbor. There is no official meeting that they call a meeting. They're supposed to elect members every year to the board.
Oh, they haven't had one, okay.
No, they don't. They have informal meetings down at the bar once a year.
Where, Horseshoe?
Yeah, the Horseshoe, yeah. If that's a meeting, I guess.
Well, if they elect members, I guess.
If it's a forum, it's a meeting.
All right, so we'll change the 10 years to many years.
Many years, that's all.
Are there any other comments on the June?
No.
All right, can I have a motion to approve the June?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes with the minor change as submitted.
Okay, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. All right, we're going to next move on to the next action item, which is update and discussion of the status of active projects. I was not able to touch base with Bill, so I don't have a fairly good update. Does anyone else have any updates?
I haven't spoken to Bill either, but it's kind of like status quo. Not a lot is happening. If you go by the Riverside Drive project location, they have the big crane there. They've got the sheet piles staged. I haven't been there in a couple of days, but it looks like they're slowly manning that job to get that going. Perry's Green. I reached out to Mega. She said she'd give me an update, but I haven't gotten that yet, and that's just a couple of days ago. But by my observation, I just think that they're going very slowly. Harbor Management Commission was before us, and I just spoke briefly to the gentleman there, and he said he was talking to the contractors, and one of the difficulties is they can't really drive the sheets until it's low tide. So since there's only 2 low tides a day, and one of them is when it's dark, they have one window of a couple hours every day, I guess. But I don't know that. It just seems to me that.
Well, they must have known that when they were planning.
Yeah, and maybe they scheduled it for a 6-month project term, but I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting to hear directly from Mega on that.
Okay.
And then the rest of them. Well, my intention is to go back to the activity list and update that based on our conversations with Bill Hurley, and also to factor in the, funding timing, which I will glean from this current capital review that's going to happen tomorrow at the Board of Selectmen meeting. So
Right.
that has some updates to the
When things get
23 projects that are of interest to us are listed on that.
All right, any other updates?
It's not an update, I don't even know if it would be considered an ongoing project, but I'm, in looking at the minutes, the letter that you were gonna do about the barriers for the underpasses, which,
I did not do that.
that's easy.
Yeah.
Did they flood this?
No, they did
No,
not
they did
flood.
not.
They did not flood yesterday.
And actually, the road, I don't know what you guys saw over on Penfield, but,
It
Fairfield
didn't
Beach
flood.
Road had only very minor flooding.
I looked up
spite of the
precipitation
volume of rain,
online
no.
the next day, and it said it was only a millimeter to 2 millimeters per hour, or so we ended up with just under, 2 inches of rain.
I don't think we got the big.
We didn't,
No, we didn't.
it went like this,
What
we
I
dodged
saw
the
was
bullet.
2 1/4 from the
Yeah,
weather service,
yeah, we didn't get really much down.
Monroe.
Yeah, my pumps didn't even go on.
12 and a half.
Yeah. We did get a major, washout of, I guess, the town, I've forgotten what it's called, starts with a Z, up on Housatonic River.
Lake Shore?
Yeah, Lake Shore,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Monroe.
which lost,
Yeah.
like,
Right.
houses.
Yeah, in Oxford. Really?
Our
Yeah.
beach right now has so much trash on it that is just, kids' shoes,
You see the propane tanks that came up?
propane, yeah,
Large house propane, I'm not talking real
Really?
propane. Like,
Where'd they come?
they
Down the
were on
river.
they were on the
Yeah.
they were on the beach.
and we
into the
had
town.
tree trunks this big. I mean,
Down, like down the Housatonic, you're
they all
you're
came
saying.
down and then they washed,
Really?
now they started to wash up on the beaches. So our beach has
Oh, my
trees
gosh.
that are crazy. I'd ask if DPW would help me move them, because I can't lift them. They didn't respond, so I don't know. I guess I hate to push it out to the tide cycle, because some boater's gonna run
Right.
into it. and
Be an
it's
issue,
gonna-
yeah.
It'd be hurt them. I mean, it's crazy. I don't know, maybe I'll try and bury it or something. Anyway, really
There
aggressive
should be somebody that
trash.
could help you with that, though, right?
Well, it's sort of weird because it's probably between the coastal jurisdiction line and the high tide line. So it technically,
But they rake the beach.
not private beaches,
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you may own it, yeah.
yeah, so. Well, we'll have to see. It may wash out again, because since I can't move it, it's still sitting there. And if we get a higher tide, there's nothing I can do about it. So I don't have any other active project updates. I will try to get with Bill once we have this Board of Selectmen meeting and we can align on what projects got funded for F-25, and really get timelines for all of those. So I propose, unless anyone has any other, updates or questions. we move on to
I
next.
just mentioned that the bid results for the South Pine Creek Tide Gate Replacement Project at the ball field. So those bid results did come in, and McCarthy Concrete is the apparent low bidder. I asked Tim Bishop what's going on with their review committee, and he said they've done a review. They apparently are going to have conversations with the bidder, a couple bidders, to make sure they understand the scope. But also, they have to go back for more money. So they're going to go back to the Board of Finance to ask for an additional $2 million. They had $2.5 million budgeted, and the lowest bid came in at $2,960. So they're gonna look for more money from the Board of Finance at some meeting
That's the
soon,
trouble
as
with
I
all these
understand
projects,
it.
they get delayed a year or two, and suddenly the costs
Yeah.
that were initially put in
Yeah.
aren't valid anymore.
Yeah.
We have to figure out a way to make our projects happen in the timing that we budget them for, because this is gonna be a consistent issue. It's happened with Perry's Green, it happened with
Mhm.
this, I mean, it's, the pump station has gone radically over what it was initially budgeted
Yeah.
for.
Well, the pump station and the piping is still listed on the capital plan, but it's like, this is a placeholder. It adds up to, I think, $54 million when you add the three components that are listed.
Actually, there's one other active project that I was working on. I was trying to get in touch with the group that did the New Haven bioswales. I've called them a couple times, and I just think this is a bad time to try to reach people. I think people are on vacation, so I'm not getting any callbacks yet, so I will keep trying on it.
I met that woman at an event in New York City that she presented on that bioswale in New Haven. I was planning on contacting her about Sturgis Road.
Okay, well, I'm trying to, this is the group that's associated with Yale, the company that's associated with Yale?
I don't know if it was a company or not.
Who did a lot, there's two people I was trying to contact. One was one of the town engineers from the city of New Haven who did the tour for a bunch of people. And the other is the person, a woman who was on the tour also, but is part of a group that was associated with Yale that actually designed and did probably about half of the bioswales. They get people who are released from prison who can't get other jobs, and they're very good about who they use and make sure that they employ people that
Otherwise, can't catch a break.
Yeah, so I'd love to be able to use them, but anyway, I just haven't been able to connect yet. But I will keep trying. So let us move on then to update on the Penfield Beach Resiliency Project. The only update I have on that is that they have released, after many requests from Mr. Mohosky, as well as the Fairfield Beach Residents Association, who also requested their storm preparedness plan, which is now available for comment. And
underwhelming.
So I think what I'd like to do is circle back with the town and just understand a little bit more about whether they considered the option that DEEP allows. DEEP allows you to build temporary berms when a named storm is coming. Several days before, it has to be temporary. It has to be used on sand that is stored on site. And it can be fairly large berm. I mean, it can be whatever height we want it to be, but it would protect the neighborhood behind it. And so
did you see this thing in the workup about it being mandated by FEMA?
I don't believe that that's true.
What's mandated?
The 8-foot section.
The 8-foot elevation.
The 8-foot section is the permanent elevation. This is a temporary structure that DEEP allows.
Yeah, no, I don't know one way or the other.
Yeah.
I just thought it was interesting because you had mentioned that before.
Yeah, and I don't understand why they didn't explore that. I think the issue that we understand from exploring it a little bit more with DEEP is that we would have to probably bring in a coastal engineer to make sure that that berm isn't going to allow water to hurt any of the properties on either side of it, which I don't think it would, because you've got Jackie Durrell on one side and you've got Rickards Beach, so the water is not going to impact either.
The question is whether the couple houses next to Rickards would be affected.
Those three.
Yeah, or the one next to Jackie Durrell, that huge house.
Right. And so I think a coastal engineer could give us an opinion on that. And it would certainly be worth exploring if indeed we do get a big storm.
And then the other question is, where's the fill going to come from? So they're going to backfill to 8 feet?
Well, they've been storing that on site. So they've got a huge pile of sand right now.
No, they don't have a huge pile of
Yes,
sand.
they do. I went by there today because I was looking at it. They have, well, I don't know how huge.
You start spreading that out, and
yeah, that's funny because I was by there a week or two ago, and I didn't see any piles at all.
There's definitely a pile there now.
oh yeah, no, the last time I saw it, there were two distinct piles, and I don't know if one is
Contaminated.
more contaminated than the other or whatever, but Eli has also stated that all the contaminated soils are now moved off site. There are still some hot spots, but all the contaminated soil that has been taken out has been removed, because there's something about 80% of the contaminated soils have been removed. So there's still 20%, I guess, underneath the main building, because the excavation and additional helical piles underneath the locker wing, that is all complete. So, yeah, reading the emergency action plan, item number 3 in preparedness. In the event of a storm warning, the entire construction site will be backfilled to a minimum elevation of 8 feet. This means that there will be no areas below an 8-foot elevation. I would use the term maximum elevation of 8 foot if there's nothing above that, but that's nitpicking. This is the elevation mandated by FEMA regulations. But that, to Chuck's point, I agree, that doesn't mean forever and a day. That means when you're done with the construction, this is the elevation underneath the pavilion.
Right.
It has nothing to do with the rest of the site, from my understanding of the dictums from FEMA.
Or for storm preparedness.
The General Permit, Connecticut, DEEP, General Permit 215-3 says you are able to build a temporary sand dune berm in case of a named storm is coming up the coast.
If a storm is coming.
So I don't know how much research was put into that statement.
Yeah.
So I think the question is, what does this board want to do? Should we write a letter just saying we thank you for this plan? We would request that you explore the deep, what they allow during their coastal site preparedness. It's in 2 different places on the deep site.
But I think just gonna go to 8 feet is useless. You have to go to 10 or 12 feet to really protect.
Yes, well,
Why do it?
it's not useless, but the native sand on the beach is now at the waterward edge of the construction fence.
Yeah.
I would think that sand elevation is like 10 feet. Okay?
Okay.
10 feet. So you have that, would run up to 10 feet, but then once it spills over that and gets beyond the fence, 8 feet is like the high point of the parking lot. The paved parking lot is 8 feet at the pavilion end, and then it goes down to like 6.5 feet at Fairfield Beach Road end. So once the storm surge wave action comes past the construction fence, it has gravity flow out to Fairfield Beach Road. So, but are we just whipping a dead horse here?
I don't think a letter could hurt.
And, I mean, there are also temporary structures too. I mean, the Tiger dams, which they use in New York and lots of other places that are just temporary. You bring them in for the storm and then you bring them back out, you rent them, you fill them up with water. I mean, there are options if they wanted to protect the neighborhood behind it. I mean, I think it's worth a letter, just asking them to consider it and see what they say. There's no downside to that. Does everyone agree?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. That's the sense of the body, I guess.
All right, I don't think we need to vote on that necessarily, but I will draft a letter and circulate it, for any comments.
And just to complete that loop, Becky and I talked about that, and one of the things was, so gee, I wonder what FEMA does say about that. And I reached out to Diane Ivkovic, who is the FEMA coordinator in Connecticut DEEP, and she didn't have much light to shed on it. As far as her awareness goes, FEMA does not have a similar document to Connecticut's general permit that says you may, build up your beachfront info storms coming. So that if FEMA truly is silent on it and there's no hidden little thing somewhere, what does their dictum to us to clear the violation? What does that say about building up the beach outside of the construction footprint of the
we don't
pavilion,
take it back.
if at all?
We'd basically take it back down to the 8 once the storm had passed too. I mean, it's a temporary dune.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but if you take the existing beach, which I submit is at 10 feet, if you take the existing beach and just pile up some sand on top of the 10 feet to get to 12 feet, that would take it back down to 10 feet, because that was the elevation prior to building up the temporary mitigation measure.
Yeah, but you take the
Well, I'm envisioning the sand piled up in front of the construction fence.
Yes, okay.
Waterward of the construction fence. And that existing sand elevation today, I think, is like 10 feet, not 8 feet.
9 to 10, yeah.
That's a pretty big step down to go under the locker wing. And the locker wing has been backfilled to 8.15 foot.
You know that?
That's been reported.
8.15. Okay.
That's
All
been
right
reported.
then. Dick, I
When you write the letter, do you feel that the sand is the best option, or are there other options we think?
Oh, there's definitely other options.
There's definitely other options. The only reason I
Sand is like, we have a lot of sand over at Rickards Beach, and we can take down some of the 8-foot sand and bring it up and make the 10-foot sand 12 foot, and because that's all above the coastal jurisdiction line, which is 5-foot elevation. So we just take that, pile it up.
Although technically we can't do that until September 15th. That's when DEEP allows you to move the sand at beaches.
Not for general
for a
permit
storm-
number 3.
For storm preparedness.
Yeah, so that's all I'm saying.
All
All right, so it's there, it's just how you, it's how
We
you
have,
tackle it.
we have
just
front
have
end,
to
the town has
get a
front end loaders,
front loader
the
and
sand
push it
is
around.
there, so it's just pile up the sand and make it a little higher at the fence, at the construction fence.
And the reality is, it's not gonna do much in a Cat 3 or a Cat
Right.
2 kind of hurricane, but a big storm, it could hold off severe flooding into the neighborhood behind it, for several hours. And it may mean that we're shoveling the sand back again after it, because it'll push the sand in.
Yeah, it's not gonna stay in place.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a little extra work on either end, but if it protects, the neighborhood behind it, I don't see why we wouldn't think about that. So at least we should explore it, I think. So I will write that letter, and we'll just see if there's any response. The next item is update on the ordinance relating to the board, which is currently pending before the RTM. And do we have any clarity on when the 2 meetings are up? That it can then be voted on?
Well, they canceled their August meeting.
Yeah, the August meeting.
Oh, so that pushes it back to October then, yeah. Possibly, right.
I'm trying to get my dates back here. Give me 1 second.
'Cause aren't there meetings usually toward the end of the month, like the last Monday or the 4th Monday or something?
At the July session of the committee meetings, the ordinance was referred out of the LNA committee to the main body.
Yeah.
In the July meeting, and I'm looking for my note, the moderator said that it's been voted out and it will now appear on 2 agendas, meaning August and September, before a vote on the third month. So now it's been pushed back because they decided not to have a meeting for the month of August. So there was just a cancellation, and according to the notice, anything to be transacted in August would be put over until September. So I believe that September, and the purpose of this is for discussion and comment. So, and it also, I believe any of the committees can have a consideration now that it's out of LNA. But in any event, I believe that it'll be 3 months.
So November.
Now, my alternate view on that, having read the chapter in the town, or read the RTM procedures, and I'm confused on this, but when it was voted out of committee and it was presented to the full RTM, does that count as the first appearance before the RTM?
Well, you might think so, but there was no discussion. It was simply, the announcement was made that it had been voted out of the committee the day before, or whatever the gap was.
The Friday before, whatever it was.
Yeah, and that there would be 2 more meetings before the vote.
And your sense is that the first of those 2 meetings is so that anybody can ask questions, give answers, discuss whatever.
Right.
And then the public can comment.
Right.
Yeah.
And then after that, the next meeting is, okay, everybody's had a chance to be heard, let's vote on this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Now, what I was planning to do was go to the August meeting and see, and we'll do the same thing hopefully in September. And at that point, ask the moderator or Liz, is there any mechanism to get this vote, because we've lost a whole other month, is there any mechanism to get this discussed and voted? But my sense is that's not going to be the case, but I could be, hopefully I'm wrong.
Okay, well, to use an overworked phrase, it is what it is.
Right.
So November is when we might actually get it voted on.
Correct.
All right?
This is the scope and size and name
Yeah.
changes, yeah.
If you remember, they voted it out of committee with no changes. So
Right.
hopefully that nobody's going to look all that.
It was also on the RTM backup before it even went into committee, the full ordinance
Right.
and everything. No one had any
Chuck, do you have any idea of who actually puts it in town code format? This will be chapter 72, paragraph 1 is the introduction, paragraph 2 is the number of members.
I think once it's voted, the town clerk
does that.
Change the language, they'll just label it.
Okay.
I mean, it passed muster with the town attorney, and he said it looks fine to me, he didn't make any changes. I would think that would be the point where you would make changes. Now, there could be suggestions from any RTM that I think this language should change. I assume that would be entertained.
Okay.
But I'm not aware that there's going to be some revamp.
And then how
It'll be
does that appearance in the town code, how does that dovetail back into the town charter, which is duplicative with different words? It's like, I don't know. It's like they refer to one
another. In my view,
another.
it shouldn't have been in the charter to begin with.
Well, I know, but there.
But it is.
But there it sits.
And I don't know that there's any, the charter allows for the organization of a board to be changed. The charter.
But yet they.
Do we do amended?
That's what I was. To my awareness, they don't make changes to the charter like.
No, it wouldn't change the charter. It would stay. But the point is that the charter provides that the RTM, on the request of the Board of Selectmen, can alter the composition. Alter the organization of any board, commissioner, agency in the town.
Right.
With an ordinance,
Right.
So if I'm reading the town charter, and I read that there's 5 members, one goes off every year, and I don't have a little note there that says, also see chapter 14 of the town code, I would, in my ignorance, stop there.
Well, you might, but you'd be wrong.
But that's hardly fair and transparent, and aren't we all about transparency in government?
I guess what you would do is, if you're doing your homework fully, you would also look at the town
code
and the town code, and see if there's anything that's altered what's in the.
Okay, I'm wasting my time.
I'm going to move us on.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else on this subject? I'm going to move us on.
You have to remember the name of it? I can't even remember the name.
Flood prevention, climate resilience. And
You don't have to. You have 2 months to practice the new name.
But we are agreeing that we're going to do FERB, which is not exactly the way it would go, but it would be better than FREB.
Take me back to
Flood
friendly,
prevention,
the
climate
fribble.
resilience, and erosion control board.
The fribbles. The little fribbles.
Yeah, I know, that's definitely.
Not good.
Strawberry fribble.
All right, the next
There it is.
agenda
I
item.
found my note,
Is there anything different than what you said? Okay.
The LNA voted the ordinance out of committee, then in next 2 agendas before it goes to a vote.
Okay. So the next agenda item that we have on our agenda
So then it
is
gets voted
item
on.
5,
Third one
Yeah.
appears on the next 2 agendas
and it gets voted on the 3rd.
and then gets voted on the 3rd.
Right.
That's why it's November.
And at the September meeting, we'll get clarification or ask whether there's a way to combine the last step,
Yeah.
last 2 steps.
I'm gonna move us on, because we've said this now several times. Update on the 2024 Master Flood Mitigation and Resilience Plan. So it's sitting right now in purchasing. I have not heard anything back. It went to Adam 2 weeks ago. He said he was gonna take it and, do whatever the purchasing department does that makes it into a RFP, adds all of the town pieces to it. And then I did notice that one of the things for discussion on the Board of Selectmen capital planning chart is that they are looking to combine 2 projects in order to possibly fund this. So we have one project that is called Flood Control Study that has a budget of $100,000 that has not been bonded yet or formally authorized. And then we have a second project, which is called the Jennings Beach Resilience Project, which was bonded in, I believe it was 2020, F23 for $250,000. And the discussion on this says that they're going to talk with the bonding agents to see if there is any concern with changing the name and merging those two into a $350,000 budget, which would presumably then be the budget for this.
Very nice.
It's about 100 short of what I think it's going to be, but I'd rather, we'll start with this, and then if we need to go back and ask for more money when the bids come in, that seems to be what we have to do with every other project, so that'll be what we do with this, but at least we've got a possibility. So my understanding is that that's the next step, assuming that that gets discussed at the Board of Selectmen meeting, and that that the bonding agent does agree that they can change the name.
And the other 2 projects will cease to be pursued.
Yeah, and what the Jennings Beach Resilience Project was actually a study that we will be doing in this
Part of
study.
it, so you're building it in.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense to merge these.
Okay.
Because that's what that was. It was to look at a berm in the public section of Jennings Beach back up to the Ash Creek open space. So, and that's exactly what they will be looking at as one of, presumably will be looking at as part of this master study. So I think that's.
Sounds good.
I believe that is the next step. I will try to confirm that. I don't know if I can ask a question in the Board of Selectmen, probably not, but maybe I'll just shoot a note to Bill Gerber and just say if I'm understanding correctly, and if that's.
Yeah, that's probably good.
I have no other updates on that. Does anyone else have any questions on that? All right, the last agenda item is to hear and consider and act upon any other business which may properly come before the board. Is there any new business? No? All right,
No, I
this is
have
going to be a quick meeting then. Excellent.
What's the stop recording crew star?
Sorry?
What's the stop recording button?
Oh, you can just-
I lost it on here.
Did you
Oh,
hang
you
up the
just hang
phone?
up? No.
Just hang it up, it's fine.
Okay, so the meeting's over. There were no other
But we didn't
callers that
adjourn,
came
though.
in.
Oh, let's adjourn at 7:38.
Wow, fast.
Very fast meeting.
End call.